Agricultural Heritage Center in Longmont, Colorado. I'm in the Laura farmhouse, which was built in 1909. And right here is something that I'm going to share with you today. Now, some of you might know what it is. A lot of people do, maybe from Downton Abbey or other shows that you've seen that are in the old-fashioned days that take place over 100 years ago, like this house. So this is a telephone, and this telephone didn't do nearly all the things our telephones do nowadays. This telephone couldn't take pictures, it couldn't take videos, it couldn't connect to the internet, certainly. And so it was just a telephone to make telephone calls on. And back in those old-fashioned days, you would have been very glad to have that phone to make calls on. And so, how did you use this telephone? What did you do with it? So anyway, you would talk into this part. It's kind of shaped like a horn. And you would listen using this part. This is a receiver, so you'd put that up to your ear while you would talk into this part. Now, if you were going to make a call, you would lift up the receiver, you'd hold it to your ear, and you'd do like this. And an operator would answer your call in an office. You couldn't just call from house to house back in those days. It just wasn't how it was done. The technology wasn't there. So the operator would say, "Number, please." And you might say, "I want to call Mr. McIntosh across the road." And so, if you knew the number, you could say it. But I bet if your town was small enough, you could just say the person's name and they would connect your call. And so, they would connect your call. Now, the operator had a whole bunch of wires and a whole bunch of switches and on a switchboard. And they would have one for your telephone, and then they would have to connect the other end to Mr. McIntosh's telephone on the switchboard. And that's how it would connect you. Now, it wasn't just you and Mr. McIntosh on the telephone sometimes. If you lived, out in an area that was a neighborhood, you might be on what was called a party line. So there'd be more than one household and more than one family on the phone line with you that you would share. So before you made your phone call, when you picked up the receiver, you would kind of listen to see if there was anyone else talking. If there wasn't time for you to talk, you'd interrupt their call. So you wouldn't want to talk. You'd just hang up the receiver and you would wait for a little while. Now, if you were ready to make your call, and you listened and there was no one on the other end, then you could call the operator and make your call, and that would be fine. But you know what? People in the other houses around you on your same party line, they could listen in on your phone calls. So talking on the phone wasn't a very private business. You wanted to make sure you didn't talk about anything too personal on the phone, or if you did, you didn't know who in the houses down the road might be listening in on your conversation. And I know some people who used to listen in on conversations myself. My mom and her sisters lived on a farm in Nebraska. And down the road from them were their cousins. And their cousins were, all except one, were girls. And my mom and her sisters thought it was very exciting to pick up the receiver, make sure no one heard you, and listen in on their older girl cousins on their telephone, on their party line. Because, of course, they could find out who liked which boy, or what they were going to do on Saturday night with their friends, or, oh my gosh, who was having a hard time in math at their household. And of course, being the younger girls, my mom and her sisters thought that was really interesting and really fun to do. Now, I don't know how their mom never found out about it, because they certainly would have gotten in trouble and not been allowed to do that if their mother had known. It must have been when she was making dinner that they did all their telephone listening. So thank you for learning about the telephone with me, and have a great day.